Hi everyone. Sorry about bad standing in my presentation this morning. As most things, it will be relevant later on in the presentations. I'm a big fan of just-in-time management. The presentations got freshly written, finished this morning at 8 a.m. in the morning. Hi, my name is Bonnie Law. I'm from Spark. If you don't know yet, we are a telco company. We just turned 1 year old. 8th of August, really easy to remember for a Chinese like me. It is a place of change, and I don't think describing telco as a fast-changing industry describe it enough. Recently, I gave an introduction to Spark in another public speakings and with a set of imageries, and I was surprised very myself this morning that I had to change most of them this morning. Is how many new things that we come on and new brain image that we need. Our market changed a lot, technology changed a lot, our customer changed a lot, and we're getting very good at adapting to those change. In fact, one of the reasons after many years in banking, I decided that I really need to learn how to change, and I joined Spark. What a shock that is. My first restructure was 3 weeks after I joined, and I learned from the experts of how to do organization level change really well. Anyone have a guess of, well, apart from the people from Spark sitting in the audience, on average, how long a restructure process at Spark would take? Any guess? From start to finish, consultations to redundancy. Okay, 2 months. Any other bits?
5 weeks.
Pardon?
5 weeks.
5 weeks? Okay, 5 weeks. Any other bits? No. My quickest one in here is 5 days. From consultation to redundancy. What a change. That is the speed of change in Spark. In fact, I've actually changed myself with a new title. My new title is now, wait a minute, Customer Data Strategy and Innovation Director for Spark. It's quite new. It was coming in, I think, last week. It's confirmed. And that's what's happened. So today what we're going to talk about is a little bit. I got 42 minutes according to the run sheets, 4 topics, our challenges and we're talking in here. A little word called Agile. I debate with myself whether the Agile should start with a little a or big A, and we can go into that a little bit later. What does it mean to do Agile? The process, tools and skills that we require to do analytics. There's very little coding and tips in here. I'll leave it to all the tools and tips sessions later on. But really, it's the process and the people. How do you get more out of analytics? And finally, some very interesting results. A little bit embarrassed this morning when I found out how many Spark people sitting in the audience here. It has been a really fun journey 2 years on. I've learned a lot. I've also beat up a lot of people. Many of those are analysts now sitting in the audience, which I have to say an apology of how badly I might have treated them. And you'll find out why in these presentations later on. But this is really their stories about all of their hard work put together. 2 years sounds a very short time, but you'll be amazed what can be achieved in 2 years' time. First of all, I was a little bit shocked when my presentation's title got the word big data in it. Big data. Okay. Working in analytics, going to any conference at all in the last 5 years, you probably heard about this topic called big data. I laugh at it. I joke about it. And now I'm standing here talking about big data. I don't really know much. Most of it is from conference. Most of it is from SAIS conference as well, that I learned about the 4 V's of big data. You've got the big volumes of data coming in, the variety of data coming in, the veracity coming in, which is the uncertainties in the data. But the only one I'm interested in is just the speed, the velocity, which is the motivations behind this one. This year I passed personal milestones. I turned 40 this year. Ouch. 40. Many years of experience also means you're getting old. But also 40. midlife crisis. I'm legitimate to actually claim my midlife crisis fund and get myself a fast car. Not exactly that one. We've got an MC victory on the Maserati at home. So speed is very important. But it's also a time to think about how to make sure that I stay relevant in the industry. What big data to me is not so much a lot of the technology coming in, and there would be new tools and new toys coming in all the time. But as an analyst, what do we need to do to change in order to make use of them? What do I need to do in the really big hurry, since I'm 40 now, so that I don't become a dinosaur coming in? I've still got many, many years to play, but this is a story about how we think we can adapt to the new technology in a slightly different way coming in. The trouble with big data is that we talk a lot about the data, the technology, the machine, the algorithms coming in. There's not much big insights coming in, and that's what business is expecting. Everyone have expectations of analytic. They heard about it, they've been to conferences, so they heard a lot about what people can do with big data. And so they wanted to try it themselves. Demands is big, so the number of requests that you regularly get is crazy. Analysts, I usually go on hiding quite a lot of times. I walk a lot during the day because I usually get chased by a lot of people with a queues by my desk if I sit down. Big demands. It's also big money. A lot of the technology investments when you're talking about big data do cost money. It's other things. And it's also got this very horrible connotations that is trouble. It's complexity. It's really hard to understand. It's hard to do. Yes, everyone doing it, it is really cool, but it's really hard to get to. The result of that is analytics always seems to be missing the seat at the table. We're never really fast enough to come up with the right insights to go to the big table to present our findings or influence the decisions. While all the senior exec might still be talking about we need to invest more in data, at the end of the day, it's the people. They don't really get into the rhythm or habit of using data to answer questions. That is a problem. How do you get them to continue to invest more in data and analytics, but not using it themselves? The biggest problem is, a lot of the time when business change as fast as Spark, we really need to be fast in terms of turning data into something that managements can use for decision making. Decisions are made daily. Each morning, we know our bosses actually meet at 8:45 for 15 minutes, and that's where all the big decisions in Spark get made. In that 15 minutes, something happened yesterday. If we need to respond, if we want data to be really influencing those decisions, it needs to be at the table no later than 8:30 in the morning. How do you turn that around? Something happened. How do you make sure that data play a role in that decisions? Which get me to, we want fast analytics. Velocity is not just about the speed of data coming in. Yes, there are a lot of data flowing in. You've got a lot more access to transaction data now. With the Internet of Things, you can tap into a lot more streaming of data flying in the servers. Digital is generating a lot of new data as well. As if not enough with the data that you already own, you also get access to a lot of third-party data out there that you can incorporate in your analysis. A lot of the interactions data is becoming real-time, so you can get access to that during the day, intraday if you want. The technology is also that the databases is getting faster and faster. A query that used to take 2 hours to run here can easily run in 2 minutes. Great. Faster processing equal faster analytics? Not quite. What's missing in that, we find, is that the analysts themselves need to be a lot faster. At the end of the day, to unlock all that speed powers in the machine, you really need a good driver. Training racing driver is not the same as training your road drivers going through. We were taught we need to be cautious. We need to be careful in our analytics. We need to make sure that our numbers add up and that they are right. Driving a fast car is a little bit different. You can't be that careful. Your machine is so powerful, it's just gold. When you're really going onto the racetrack and drive a car, you have to have a lot of trust in your machines and your instincts and your guts. It's becoming an art. How do you make sure that you make the split-second decisions of what gears you need to be in or whether I need to brake now? There's not much time to think. There's not much time for cautions. Finding those analysts is hard because we are not trained that way. Years and years of university educations has never really tell you how to do fast. What do we do? Further to that, there is this well-known trade-off. You've got three elements: time, cost, and quality. You can be fast and cheap, which means you get low quality stuff. You can be fast and high quality and end up costing a lot. You can be cheap and high quality and being very slow. No, we don't want that. You can't get all three. That's the logic for a lot of people. Hang on a minute. We've just said big data equal big money. The company already invested a lot in data, in setting up new databases. The tools are there. Being here in a SUNZ conference, I hope you all use that, which come with nice, tidy annual renewal cost. We get to find out. And the company has also invested in a lot of analysts. Analysts got salary. Analysts are not cheap. Usually hiring an analyst is usually at the expense of maybe 2 or 3 call center agents that will be able to answer calls for customer. Analytic is not cheap. So taking the cost element out, all analytic need to focus on is just the time and quality. And it seems that we can do it. Because cost is sorted, we now need to make sure that we're delivering that dollars back and showing the return for that investment so that we can continue to do cool stuff. So that we can continue to convince the big bosses to buy us new toys. I love toys. I want fast machines. My actual work machines is too slow, so I'm trying to convince them to get me a faster one. Good luck for that. So how do we get about doing it? I jump on Google. What's another word for fast? Come up with a word called Agile, which is quite interesting. Agile is not new. Agile is something that has been using in the software industry for a very long time. But what I really like is this manifesto. 4 very, very simple principles that define Agile as a methodology, as the principles. There are a lot of variations of processes. If you read on it, there's pages and pages of Googles that you can read through on what is Agile. But as it comes to that, it's a bunch of software developers in the 90s figure out that there has got to be a better way of doing things and put together a little page. And you can actually add the signature to it if you support the thinking. But the principle is very simple. It values individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Great, I don't need to deal with project managers anymore. Hate those. Timesheets, Microsoft projects, yeah, I can get that. Individuals and interactions. You rather sit around a table and bash out very quick decisions than having process for process sakes. That works. Working software over comprehensive documentation. That works for me too. I hate writing documentations. Anyone who worked with me or worked for me before would know how much I detest this thing called documentation. Right? I believe SAS code is self-documenting, by the way. Sort of things. Not all people think about it, but really the principle is that the individual interactions help you understand what is in the solution. By standing something working, that you can see how it works, that is transparent, that everyone understands how it works, the time that you need to spend on documentation is minimal. If you think of a project that you have to spend quite a bit of time developing the code, getting the data, doing the analysis, presenting it, how much time should you be investing in the documentations? I've seen in organizations where 20% of the time get invested in writing the documentation themselves. It's a value for money. So I like that. So 2 out of 4, I'm happy. Customer collaborations over contract negotiations. A lot of time working in a corporate, I have a lot of stakeholders who all want analytics from me. It kind of works better sitting down at a table talking about what is it that we're trying to solve than people giving me this horrible document called an analytic brief. Anyone in your company who actually got analytic brief exist Can I have a show of hands? How many of you have analytic briefing process? Quite a few. I believe there will be more coming in. I hate those. Sitting around a table talking has a lot of benefits. You get to find out the people's motivations beyond what they've written in the document. Just like my hatred for documentations, for the projects, how much time do you invest in writing that briefs in order to get an analysis done? And if I got a way to deliver really, really fast analytic that is faster than the speed you put that brief together, isn't it worth it? That's good too. Finally, responding to change or following a plan. That's absolutely worth at Spark. We got very, very little room for planning. Things just change on us and we need to respond. 4 out of 4. That's it. That will be my methodology going forward. And so after I joined Spark, decided to give it a try. Also because I've got this new CEO coming in, decided that we also need to cut headcount. So I need to make do with, we need to satisfy a lot of bigger demand with a lot less people. That seems to be a way out of it as well. What really sort of tick my boxes is that the fundamental differences in Agile is that it is really suited to solve complex problems, which is a lot of cases when analytics come along. Traditionally, if you're involved in any sort of IT projects or even analytic projects often run that way, you would go through a very lengthy periods of gathering requirements. What's the problem you're trying to solve? What's the business problem you're trying to solve? What are you trying to deliver? Usually the output is either a very massive Excel spreadsheets of, I need the solution to deliver X, Y, and Z, or a very big analytic brief. I've actually seen a brief for a predictive model go so far in detail to specify every single variables the marketers wanted to see in that model. I laugh by the time, because at that point in time, the analytic tasks become a tick boxes job. You go and pick up the groceries from the shopping list. That's it. And then in the waterfall process as well, you start to do the design process. You start to look at how you assemble the solutions, how you deliver the models. You build, you test, you maintain. Why is it called waterfall? Because when the water leaves the bucket, it can only go one direction. It can no longer go back up. Everything has to be tracked according to plan, and you actually got tools that actually track your progress. You get timed on how long you spend on it, dependencies of who else you're holding up, going that way. Unfortunately, most analytic problem is not linear. If it is linear, it's simple, you probably don't need a modeling software, you can fit a regression model in Excel. That's also a cool model too, but it's a linear model. But a lot of the analytic problems are complex, which means you can't look at it in one direction. What Agile methodology fundamentally differs is that it goes through the same process sometimes, but in very compressed cycles. So instead of people going through a week, 2 weeks to gather the requirements of what you need, sit around a table for half an hour and your requirement is done. It's short cycle, so it's what you invest in probably a week or 2 weeks. And so it is okay. But what's magic about it is that you go iterative. You would go on it again and again until you solve the problem. It's also got this idea of delivering something and got something to show very often, very fast. So instead of building a car from the wheels and then trying to connect the wheels, get the engines together, get the chassis, and then finally you build the cars and you have to wait for 4 weeks before you get the full cars, by which time your board probably will have made about another 30 decisions before you come to this point. You get to start by making a little scooters. A scooters may be able to help you make the decisions. Doesn't matter if it doesn't work the first time. You can work at it, modify it, it becomes a scooter the next day. Cool. A scooters might be able to help our exec answer the questions faster. You get your chance of going in it. Still doesn't answer the questions, you add some more bits to turn it into a bicycle. That's a little bit flasher. You can go on it for a little while. Every step of the way, the key is that you are visible. You got something to show. You got something to go to the table to talk, and you get to listen. What doesn't work about it? And that's where the iterative process will come back to actually help figure out what is the right type of things to make sure that the solution is relevant to your stakeholders and the decision makers. And then finally, for every step, you've got new questions that come through. Your requirement is not fixed at the beginning, and therefore you can modify it. If halfway through the projects I decide to build another car, I still got time to modify it. That's cool, that's fun. So on the process side, how do we make it work? First step, get rid of the briefs. I love that. What replaces the brief is the clear visions of the final three products. A very clear goals of where we need to do, and that's require leadership. Agile doesn't mean that you randomly try a whole bunch of things. It still means you're going somewhere. You have the final cast in mind when you start out. What you then do is to agree the different user stories coming in, the different components that make up through the full stories. Is this car going to have 2 wheels or 4 wheels? What type of engine is it going to have? Is it going to be a V6 or a 5 turbo? What you then do is to break it into chunks so that you can have visible delivery coming in into something called backlog, which I'll show you a little bit later on. Finally, you would time box it and to make sure that you have frequent reviews, show and tell sessions so that you can show what's happened. This is what a backlog can look like. This is very simple goal. I used to work in marketing, sort of things. A simple goal is I want a contact program to increase cross-sales. Nice and simple. In that one word, I saved 2 weeks worth of requirement gathering because my goal is clear. What's underneath is a whole bunch of stories. You can do some profiling to gather some data. You know, in this instance, you might want to get some usage data, some interactions data. At each step of the way, you can profile them. If today I can only get usage linked to cross-sell, great, I can profile that and tell a story. If tomorrow I get a little bit of research data coming to understand customer satisfactions and voice of customer, great, I can profile that and link it to cross-sell as well. My story starts to come together. You don't need to tell your story all at once. Most exec has very, very short attention span, which means if your story is longer than 5 minutes, you lose their focus completely. Short bite of stories really, really help. Each day, if you can come in with a new fact, that's even better. You've got various type of deep dive analysis that you want to find out what's happening currently, how the buy journey low, is the customer going through the online cart properly, that sort of things. How much money is it going to make, right? You've got the various models. You can go as fancy as you like or as simple as a segmentation model, doesn't matter, you choose. They are all components, little bits. And you can get the campaign out to test. What's fun about this board, is this is my backlog coming on it, is it doesn't have all the boxes before it makes sense. Any one of those boxes on its own would make sense to people, which means when I deliver every one of those boxes, I've got something to show. And it doesn't need to deliver in any particular order. If today the pressure is we need to get something into market, great. Skip all the modeling, skip all the profile, skip everything. Let's just get something into market to test tomorrow. Can you sample a random group of customers and see how they respond? And then you build a model afterwards? Sure, I can do that. If I don't have all the data together, can I build a model? Yeah, I can build models with as few as 2 or 3 variables. So why can't I build it with just a subset of variables? With agile methodologies, looking at a backlog like that, you've got a lot more flexibility to manage the work. The other good things is every request coming from the marketers, from the stakeholders, become another little stories on it. The number of deep dive stories you can get is endless. You can keep adding to the story, and because everything is in the same board, you get visibility of what's important. And in a half-hour meeting or even 15 minutes around with the stakeholders, you can agree what the priority, which ones you needed today. Cool. I just focus on delivering and forget about the politics. That's even better. Prioritizations become a lot easier. Once people can see the story and can imagine what they get out of it, they can start to put value against it. Suddenly, finding out how many customers sitting in the buy queue yesterday at 3 a.m. in the morning doesn't seem so important anymore because I got bigger fish that I can chase. It allows for non-linear workflows, which means you can jump from one to another very easily. If you have to put down something and don't finish it, yes, you probably have wasted some time doing the prep work, but not always wasted, because once you go back, change into something else, you can come back to finish the story. And the story will continue to evolve. That board will have new cards going on all the time. As new data become available and new sources of data become available, you can add it in, and that will add another variations to all your models. You can redo them. The board continue to grow. We talk about communications. How important is it to actually get the message out to the stakeholders? Getting rid of briefs doesn't mean that you're not accountable for the delivery. It means that you need to have a lot more frequent bite-sized update as often as possible. As Spark, we've got this horrible thing called a weekly cycle. Weekly cycle means every week we come up with, from the questions to data to an answer to recommendations in a week. And you go on that every week. And sometimes if you have a multiple one of these coming in, you'll find how fast you go. It's really like cycle. If you go on RPM on the bike trying to go questions, you know how fast you chase. The minutes you go fast, next week you will be expected to go faster because your stakeholders will have new questions coming in. The joy of being iterative is that every deliverable generates new sets of questions. The demand continues to grow. But it's great because we get more work to do and we've got more tools to play. Don't waste time on technical documentations. At the end of the day, it's your recommendations and what you do and what you can take out to market, what decisions you can make that counts. It's not how your code look and all the detail. You need a minimum level of that, but don't overdo it. Checking on the time, going on. I talk about the different blocks of data, and that's how far time comes. I remember going to another one of analytic gathering, presenting the single customer view. Waving the flag, big fan of single customer view. Now I'm putting a big cross against it. It takes too much time. By the time you finish building a single customer view, you've got new sources of data coming in. You want to add more to it. When are you going to start doing some analytic and deliver some money? Forget about that. I'm a big fan of just-in-time coming in. Last minutes will do fine. Last minute doesn't mean that I trade off with quality. Last minute just means I've got a system in place so that I know exactly where to get the best quality of supplies that I need to get. If you look at how Toyota years and years ago set up their supply chain, it is about having a very good supplier management system. It's no difference to data. As an analyst, I have lots and lots of sources. I just need to have very good relationship with those suppliers. Making sure that with each of the supplier, I've got, I know which one I can trust, and I have the instinct of which one I can go and get the data without too much cleanup work. Smaller data blocks also mean that you can build it very, very quickly, a day, an hour, if you build it. Make sure you build it you can reuse so that you can build on in the later time, and make sure you can change it very often. From a toolset perspective, I've actually got everything I need. I haven't got the fancy SaaS model factory as such. It's still on my wish list and my business cases to get. But at the end of the day, the part is done. If you get your supply chain properly, you can get your data prep time down to about 30 minutes. RPM can let you build a model in 10. You can then package it with your presentations with the rest. The whole process finishes in an hour. It's not even a week. You don't even need to spend a weekly cycle to come up with your recommendation. All your analytic work get done in an hour. How cool is that? How many of those ones can you churn out in a week? Less time in the modeling process means you get more time to do the recommendations, really turning it into what it means for the business. And that is important. Not all of the models mean something to the business, but because you can build the model that quickly, you can build lots and lots of them, and chances are, of the 10 models that you build today, well, 8, given most people should only work 8 hours a day, 8 models that you build today, probably 1 would be useful, and that you can go and present into tomorrow's exec meeting if you want. You don't need to think too much. It doesn't really trade off on quality either. If anyone's used SaaS RPM, you know you can go behind the scene to figure out, fine-tune it, figure it out, anything you want. And there are lots of other tool sets if you want to explore high algorithms going in. It's just about building on the basics and having something to show. The other important skills in here is actually understanding what matter. It is very important if you want to deliver something that fast, is that gut instinct of what is important. That relationship with your business and especially for marketers these days, they're becoming so analytical as well, they are very demanding. But they can also help you translate the problem and figure out what is important. As a start, make sure that you measure every recommendation that you put out. Every recommendation should have an action, and that action should deliver money to the business. Start keeping a log, tracking them, and in Spark, we managed to polish that process very well. You also figure out how many recommendations actually manage to make it into market. As an analyst, you can build your own predictive model to say which stakeholders you are more likely to influence, which type of problems you are more likely to make an impact, and you can prioritize accordingly. Finally, I put this very horrible thing of putting a financial targets in my analyst who works for me. It's a novel idea. They actually deliver dollar. They're now not a cost center. They need to start thinking like a profit center. They need to deliver dollars values to the business. And that will enable you to measure something on return on analytics, which I'll share with you what's happened. What you need in order to deliver that is a mix of skill sets. Because of the speed that you need to go in here, you can't expect all of your analysts to be doing everything. I really like this McKinsey models coming up, which divide the roles into nice little blocks. Finding the unicorn in the middle is really hard. I'm still trying to learn to be one in the middle. But as part of the team coming in your wider team, in your ecosystems, have you got people playing any of those roles that can help? Doing fast also rely on the experience of individuals. And by working as a team, you can start a very good cross-change training side of things to upskill everyone. Culture coming in. So we're talking about the process, which is simple. It's ABC, you follow a method. We talk about the tools, which most of them you've got in your environment already. And if you want some sort of agile management and project management tools, most of them can be free on the internet as well. Culture eat strategy for breakfast. I love this quote. Partly because the hardest one to start is actually the people. As I said earlier, analysts spend years and years training to be accurate, training to be precise. And you're now asking them to work very differently. The organizations has been getting analytics for ages, for years. They used to analytic brief. What do you mean no briefs? The stakeholder need to change. In a study by Verizon One, 52% of organizations, 52% state that a barrier to adoption of Agile is organization culture. It's getting the people and getting the people in the right mindset to make it happen. Some of the learnings along the way. Analysts fundamentally are perfectionists. One of the things that really worked for me is I start carrying a coins around with me. If an analyst can't give me an answer better than I toss a coin, then the coin wins. Try that. Can you make a guess using analytic and your data to make a decision just slightly better than me tossing a coin? I'm sure you can. Try it a number of times. Start hiring gamblers. As a statistician, I love going to the casino, not because I like to gamble, but I like to watch. Gamblers have this very gut instincts of very quick calculations of risk and rewards. You want to balance that. Therefore, you want to challenge your team to actually put the bets. And it's okay to fail. If you put the wrong bets, as long as you don't put all of it in there, that's fine. You can fail. You can try again. Bet on the right things and practice making a judgment. We've also have this little practice called 1 hour challenge, where I pull out a stopwatch and actually time people how long it takes for them to give me an answer. very mean. It's not very good. I'm recruiting an analyst right now, so probably half the room doesn't want to work for me right now, but that's okay. We will get there coming in. But what an hour challenge really gives you is the ability to actually practice your judgment. Trust your gut. Analytic is not just all science. That's the thing. Analytic requires a lot of gut instincts, your experience. That's where my 40 years old coming in. I can still add a lot of value because I've got that judgment in me. And all analysts should develop that. As you practice more and more, what data source would get you the data quicker? Which query would get you the results back in 2 minutes instead of 5? Every minute counts in an hour challenge. And I'm very happy that there's an analyst sitting in the room here who managed to deliver an hour challenge for me in 6 minutes. That's the record. It's come with practice. But something that I expected in an hour can now deliver in 6 minutes, from pulling the data to putting in the recommendations and putting it in the presentation. That's cool, 6 minutes. Try that. So what are you going to do later on this afternoon when you get back to the office? Conference today finished at 2 o'clock. How many 1 hour challenge can you put yourself through this afternoon? Finally, we need to remember that while we love to be modelers and do analytics, all models are wrong. As long as you believe that, you're fine. Some models are useful. That's where the business understandings and your gut instincts coming in. How do you make sure you put the bets into the right models? And finally, you need to put in a team. Team is very important. You need to have the right elements. And we talk about different skill sets coming in. But the other important in terms of the culture aspects for Agile is that it is mostly a self-organizing team, which means there's no boss that say you need to do that. There's no people jumping on you and say you need to deliver A, B, and C tomorrow. What happens is your backlog and your sprint will become your boss, and people figure out who do what amongst themselves. The motivations of the individuals are really important. They need to be able to put up their hands, and they need to be able to trust their team member. If someone in the team is better at pulling the data than other, they need to build the trust, and everyone trusts them in pulling the right data. There's one thing I don't need to worry about. And that's how you can get things very quickly. Getting the mix of skills can also give you different opinions in the room, and it will be very useful when you have to solve some very tricky problems where multiple teams fail at solving them. One of the time I managed to find a problem that is an evaluations of a campaign that didn't go very well. There's no insight in it, we can't fix it. What do? We lock some of my best analysts in a room, we give them a day, and we started off brainstorming some different options. Someone laughing at that and remembering that horrible instance where I locked everyone and no one allowed to leave. But at the same time, you learn off each other. Different people attack the problem in a different way. After an hour, if you don't get anywhere, you swap. Someone else pick up what you've started and see if you can finish it. Then go on. We finish the problems, we tackle it, there's the recommendations. Great, we move on. It's only 1 day. If you haven't got 1 day to spare, you can have a team building day for 1 day. That's fine. You can afford that. And finally, the team have joint ownership of the delivery. There's no finger pointings in there. It's part of team sports. Analysts like to keep their heads down a lot. And that's one of the challenges, that we all like to solve our problems. Most analysts are introverts. We solve our own problems. Some of the time when you need to work in Agile is the communications, not only with your stakeholders, but how do you build a team environment? How do you get it across the team so that you all get the same language? That's when the point you no longer need documentations. If you only work on your own problems and write your own code, that only you know how the logic works, yes, you need to spend a lot of time writing that documentations. But if you start having a team delivering their solutions, you don't actually need a lot, and the documentation that you write started to be very different. It's no longer about how the logic or the flow works, it's actually how to bring more people into that team so that you can expand the little self-organizing team and welcome more members in. How cool is that? Finally, is it all worth it? I think it is. These are some of the stats. I'm a number person, so I threw in some numbers in there. I can't actually put the dollar figures, I was told, so I have to put it away. Sometimes you put your head down and keep delivering and keep on the circus, going faster and faster. You forget to check in how much we've actually delivered. In a 2-month period, with 6 analysts on the rosters, we've counted, we deliver more than 80 insights projects, everyone with multiple recommendations going out there. Their project size, 80. Do the maths. That's more than once a week per person. You don't need all of them to be delivering dollars, but with 80 projects and 80 recommendations in market, surely some of them will pay back. Because of the speed, we also managed to increase the adoption of analytics and data-driven marketing. And that's counted by number of campaigns or amount of contacts that actually use analytics and higher-end models in terms of part of the targeting methodology, or part using the recommendations in the targeting for the campaign. In organizations, you've got a big volumes of compliance campaign that's most of the time. A lot of the time, it's just marketing ticking boxes and say, I want segment A, B, and C, just go and deliver it, tick the boxes, that's fine. But we managed to increase to about 24% of all direct contacts now at Spark using a model-driven approach, an analytic-driven approach coming in, and staggering, delivering 53% of the whole program benefits. Turning that, we also managed to double the incremental revenue impact year on year. Actually more than double last year, which is very happy. We're going out for celebration lunch this Friday because of that. Finally, I can very happily put a number on the slide, and that is, I can happily say to my bosses and even the board, that for every dollar that they invested in analytics in this company for the last year, we deliver a $3.60, 360% return on analytics. With that number, it's not hard to get the next wave of investments coming in, but it's about talking what's relevant to them. It's about showing actions. Analytics remaining as numbers in the machines doesn't go anywhere. It's really what you do with those numbers, and we believe Agile analytics can help us get there. So has Spark really got big data? I'm not sure. I don't think it's big enough. I would like more. So I don't think I've got big data. So I don't have the volume of data. I would like more variety. This morning I've got a new feed of data coming in, very excited, streaming into my inbox. I think I've got about 40 emails telling me that I've got that data, which is a bit strange. But I would always want more variety in data. Uncertainty, I actually don't want any of those, so I can actually cut that away. But I believe at Spark we've got the fastest analytic machines that's possible in there. And that's something that I'd like to share with you, and possibly something you can take away. And on the 2 minutes notes, thank you. Any questions?